Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sunday interview. If you haven't pushed that subscribe button, go ahead and do it now. I mean, why not? Right now on YouTube, there's 16-year-olds right now hanging out, pressing the record on the video camera, and they're making millions of dollars. While I have very important guests come on the show, and I'm making $0. If you don't push that subscribe button, my kids won't eat. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I got the one and the only Karyn Turk. Karyn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? I need to help your kids eat, so I hope that some of my fans are watching and that they'll press that subscribe button because you got a great thing going on.
Yes, please. They're hungry. With that said, Karyn, I gotta ask you, first thing, all my life I voted Democrat. And I didn't vote in 2016. I'm not gonna lie to you and say I did. I didn't vote in 2012 because I was an insurance adjuster and I was out of town. But in 2008, 2004, and 2000, I voted Democrat. I literally got I know when I started getting the conservative bug. When did it start for you?
It started for me pretty early on. I knew when my parents were Democrats and my mom and dad were voting for Jimmy Carter, and I really wanted Ronald Reagan to win. And I was pretty young at that point. And, I knew that something was up and that, I knew that the Democrat Party did not meet and match the ideals that my parents really embodied. And I couldn't understand and wrap my head around why they felt as Jewish Americans that they needed to vote Democrat, but they had been conditioned to do so. So that's what they did.
Well, I say 2016. Okay, well, 2016 is when I was like, yes, I'm now Republican. However, it started for me. The thing about me is once you start lying to me, I don't trust you. And it's not that the politicians were lying to me. They probably were. It was just like the people on TV were lying to me. Take, for example, 9/11. President George W. Bush is in a classroom. His Secret Service member or somebody from his cabinet comes to whisper something in his ear. He plays it cool, calm, and collected. He excuses himself in the classroom, told the class what happened, gets on Air Force One. Next, I didn't think nothing bad about it. I thought it was very presidential. Mm-hmm. Next thing I know, I'm watching The View, and Joe Behar is bashing. He looked like a moron. He was just a goofball. He was this, he was that. I was like, well, who was you looking at? And then it just later on and on, it just carried on. And it got to, then all of a sudden you looked at the Chick-fil-A thing. If you looked at the Chick-fil-A thing, he said, the guy pretty much said, hey, look, we believe in the Christian sense of marriage. The way the news and everybody that told me about it on TV made it sound like, hey, I don't want gay people to eat them out of the restaurant. Because that's exactly what I heard. That's exactly kind of what they made me believe. So I actually went on to YouTube and heard the quote. And I was like, hey, that can't be it. So that was 2 incidents for me to where I was like, okay, something's not right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the mainstream media narrative has been wrong for a long time, but I think a lot of people really weren't clued into it. And I do think that since the election of Donald Trump, that a lot of people have woken up to the fact that the mainstream media is lying to them. And I think that a lot of people were under the ether for a really long time. Maybe part of the reason why I was a little more clued in is because I worked within the media. I was an executive for CBS long before I was a political figure, long before I was friends with Roger Stone, long before I was controversial and went to prison. At that point, I was a media executive and I saw what was happening in the media. And I saw the fact that everything is advertising driven. Everything is subject to big money dollars. And you're basically creating a television show when you're creating news. You're creating something for the public to consume, which is to the benefit of your advertisers. So when you talk about who's funding these mainstream media networks, you're talking about entities like Microsoft, you're talking about Bill Gates, you're talking about George Soros, you're talking about Warren Buffett, you're talking about people who have a globalist billionaire agenda that doesn't fit the ideals of the American people. And they have been pushing this agenda for a long time. It's just until we actually elected Donald J. Trump as president, a lot of America wasn't awake to this. I was awake because I worked in the industry. I understood that it was an advertising driven process, but a lot of people didn't realize that do realize it now. But there's a certain population of America that isn't awake, and it's up to us to wake them up.
So my question is to you is, why is the Democratic Party so protected?
Because they control the purse strings, and the Democratic Party is actually protected for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is that a lot of the monetary establishment that funds the Democrat Party has been around for a really long time. You know, we talked a little bit before we came in the show about my own situation and how I was targeted by what I would refer to as the swamp in the deep state, which were litigious predators that have practiced law in Palm Beach. But there are people like this throughout the country that basically thrive in a legal situation called guardianship. They kidnap my mother and then use their political connections to basically persecute and prosecute me. And it ended up resulting in me taking a plea for a misdemeanor. And then because of my political position, I ended up in a maximum security federal prison. Somebody with a misdemeanor who had never been accused of anything before ever in my life. I ended up in a maximum security federal prison for a misdemeanor that I took a plea to. I mean, that in itself is pretty unbelievable. But what happened to me illustrates exactly what is wrong. And the Democrat Party that's ingrained for generations, and down here in Florida, they are the swamp, they are the gators. They're ingrained in the party down here, and they pull the purse strings. So they have a lot of control. And if they want to take shots at you or your family, or they want to control elections, they have the power to do so because they're controlling a lot of globalist billionaire money.
And it's funny thing, because when I was doing research on you, the only thing, first, Google your name. Just Google
I know.
Your name.
I have. I look like a
the
monster.
First thing, everything is former Miss Florida goes to prison. Former Miss Florida goes to prison for Social Security, such and such. Miss Florida goes to prison. Miss Florida, prison. And then probably back to the second page of your search, you get to your website.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. It's insane.
Let me ask you. Yeah, it's I mean, you explain it to me. I can't comprehend why the Democratic Party is so protected to the point where we can't even talk. And we was discussing this before. I got to be very careful. But let's just say that before we got on to start pressing the record button, I told you I had notes. We were going to talk about a certain subject, how it was proof, it's the biggest scandal in U.S. history, but yet YouTube, Google, everybody's protecting it, and now we got a new president. I'm not saying that anything bad happened during the election. I'm just saying, because I don't want to lose my YouTube channel or lose this video. I'm just saying, I saw some things. It looked suspicious. Needless to say, we can't talk about it. Now, in your lifetime, have you ever been a part of something in America where I guess, what would you call YouTube? Would you call it a network? A network saying, hey, look, you cannot talk. You can't talk about this. No, I don't want to hear your opinion. I don't want to hear what you got to say. this is what happened, this is what we believe, and this is what you're going to say. Have you ever seen anything in America like that before?
In America, no, but I've seen it in China, and I've seen it anywhere else that there's communist propaganda. And quite frankly, we are now in an environment where our country is becoming regulated in a way by media networks, whether they be mainstream media or big tech organized media giants like YouTube, where they are censoring free speech and they are censoring the opinions of Americans. And that is communist propaganda. That's what it is. I'm going to call it out like I see it. And unfortunately, this was something that I never thought I'd see in my lifetime. Both of my parents, God rest their souls, you know, as much as they went after my mother and they kidnapped her and put her in a guardianship and, in my opinion, murdered her, which is part of my whole story and why I took this plea deal, which is complicated and bizarre. But believe me, that story needs to be told. But what happened to me can happen to any American, because once you stand up against the system these days, they want to cancel you. There is a cancel culture. And this mirrors what goes on in communist countries where people are not allowed to have free speech. And it goes against everything that our founding fathers fought against. Look at the revolution. Look at us actually becoming a country. Look at our history. This is now, we're in a situation where we have to fight back. And I'm not saying that in terms of like a militia or we need to fight a war. We need to speak up as American people, as a culture, to say, you know what, this isn't okay. Free speech is being suppressed and it's not okay because it goes against American ideals. And when you can't speak your mind and you can't talk about certain subjects, which I know you don't want me to talk about, but there's a lot of evidence, and I've been covering it on my YouTube channel, Behind the Headlines, for months and months and months, even going back to last year, of what I thought would happen during this election. And history repeats itself and the predictions were true. All of a sudden you realize that we are.
I think the only thing you can't say is the F word. If you don't say the F word, you're pretty safe from
I'm
it.
good.
So,
well, you know, I don't know if I can say stolen election.
Karyn,
I don't know if
say the F word.
I won't say it. I won't say it.
Hey, look, I don't get paid for this just yet.
I know, and I don't want to do anything to hurt that. I know, and you need to get paid. And you know what? We need more people like you that are having a conversation about what's happening in our country. And there's no problem in disagreement. I have friends on the other side of the aisle. You know, although you'll Google me and you'll find out that I'm a right-wing conspiracy theorist that's friends with Roger Stone, and I'm a criminal that stole pennies off my mother's eyes before she died. And you look at all of these things.
Basically, you're just a hot Mark Dice.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate that. Right? I love Mark Dice. That's a huge compliment. Yeah, I'm a hot Mark Dice. I love this. This is great.
Yeah, so, everybody watching, if you watch Mark Dice after you get finished watching Karyn Turk.
Thank you so much. No, you know, and my YouTube channel, you know, somehow, even though I have been censored and my videos have been censored, I do have, you know, a pretty vibrant number of subscribers that YouTube hasn't censored. But YouTube and Instagram and Facebook, it's all pretty much one entity at this point. It's all big tech controlled. And, you know, I'm shadow banned more than I'm allowed to speak my mind. And I find it very hard to believe that that's what we're dealing with in a free country. And I'm still holding out hope that our president is going to take a stand against what's happening. A lot of us see it. I talk to people every day. I had a handyman in my house today. He's a Cuban American, just came to this country not so long ago, is completely appalled with what he's seeing that's happening to the country that he came to pursue the American dream. I look at, you know, every day it was ingrained in me. You should be thankful for being an American. You don't know how lucky you are. You know, we escaped the Nazis. You know, this could be taken away from you in a minute. My father used to say that to me all the time. And now I look at it and I think, yeah, I'm watching it be taken away right now. And, you know,
and we did it to ourselves.
We did. We did
And we
it to
did it to ourselves.
ourselves. We did. And we're doing it to ourselves because we have a large population in our country that aren't willing to speak their minds. And I run into people every day that say that they're afraid to say how they really feel. And that's exactly when you know that big government, big tech, and big communism have control, when they're suppressing the voice of the American people to not speak out against what they know is wrong.
Well, and it's like this. Basically, people are scared. I mean, I'm not scared because I've always been the type of person that will. I say what I want, when I want, how I want. If you don't like it, tough. I don't know how many times I've been blocked on Facebook. I got relatives that have blocked me. I don't care. To be honest with you, I probably didn't like you in the first place. And so that's just me. That's my attitude. But then you take my wife. She has, I have a career. I told you what I did before I started pressing the record button. My wife has a career. She makes a little bit more money than I do. She's not only beautiful, but she's also.
That's great. I love that.
Ain't nothing sexier than a fat wallet. Anyway, or a purse in her case. With that said, we had a discussion about being a Christian, and she didn't want to talk about being a Christian at work because, somebody may take it the wrong way. I'm like, and to me, that's stupid. It's not like you have to go out there with the Bible and just and start thumping on people's heads. But I mean, if you want to say something about Jesus, say something. I mean, no, you don't understand it. You can lose your job.
It's not only stupid, it's scary.
What kind of discussion are you planning on having, Kim? I'm like, but that's for me. I've never been afraid to open my mouth. I mean, and I probably get in a lot of trouble because of that. But this has been going on a long time. Just recently I saw the movie Parkland, and is a point to this. You look at Parkland as a movie about the assassination of President Kennedy. He gets assassinated. All of a sudden, you see the Secret Service wiping down the car. Then all of a sudden, they take the body out of Texas. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, knowing what I know, do documentaries of the assassination of President Kennedy, but I'm watching the movie. I'm seeing this live. They broke so many laws and covered up a lot of evidence. And then a couple of days later, the guy who they claimed to assassinate President Kennedy gets shot. Years later, Robert Kennedy gets assassinated. Allegedly, the CIA hypnotized this person to kill the senator. Then, in 1969, Ted Kennedy. I think her name was Mary Jo Kopechne, I believe.
Yep.
He literally leaves a girl in a body of water and is proven that she was alive for several hours. Could have got her, saved. Could have got her out of the car, but he decided to go and swim home and go to sleep. That was all of these things were covered up. And then you look at the Fast and the Furious, Snowden, the guy, talking about the laptop, the cameras, and kids being locked in cages. That would happen in 2014, by the way. The Ghazi, the emails, all this stuff gets covered up. But for 4 years, all we heard was about Russia. Our president literally got impeached for nothing.
Yeah,
everybody knew it was nothing.
Yeah,
and he got impeached.
Yeah,
all this stuff I just mentioned, nobody talks about
because they have a lot of control, and that's the reality. There's control there, and you can look at, I can speak from personal experience. I am actually speaking from personal experience, and you know what? I don't care anymore, because you want to know what? They've already thrown me in jail. What else are you going to do to me? Bring it. Bring it. There's nothing else that they can do at this point. They have absolutely cancel cultured me. They've thrown me in prison because you want to know what? The deep state is real. And this is the deep state. What you're talking about is the deep state. And these people that are politically connected for years and years and years. The law firm that came after me, the law firm that came
Karyn,
after me,
Karyn,
that
Karyn,
sued me in civil
Karyn,
court. Yeah.
Karyn, watch
Yeah.
it. They may move you in my house and you will lose your mind.
It's all good. I mean, it is absolutely unbelievable that this law firm has been tied to the Democrat Party to the turn of the century down here in Florida. The same law firm that made headlines when a jury awarded a $16.4 million judgment to a family done wrong in a guardianship case. That was the headline. That was in papers. That happened. That was real. But yet they're still practicing law. They were never disbarred. How is that possible? Well, I have to believe, and again, it's just my opinion, I have to believe that the Democrat Party has a hand in that. Maybe I'm a conspiracy theorist. Maybe I'm not. But you just listed a number of conspiracies. And now I am telling you a conspiracy that happened to me personally that I saw with my own eyes as I watched my mother die in horrific conditions in a nursing home that was basically in bed with these people in some sort of incestuous, weird social orgy down here in Palm Beach County. So you want to know what? From what I've seen, and my opinion is that the Democrat Party runs a lot of things, and a lot of it runs a legal process in America that has to be changed. And the only way that we can change that is to continue to have our voices heard and not be afraid and continue to speak up.
Okay, my last question is this. Before we move on to what happened to you, why is it the Democratic Party, especially the Democratic Party of today, want socialism so bad? Why is it these people ain't stupid. They see what socialism does in other countries. I don't believe AOC is a stupid person. Okay, you don't get.
Oh, I do. We'll disagree there. I think she's an idiot.
Well, I don't think she's stupid. I don't believe you can get where you are and become and be stupid. I don't believe Nancy Pelosi is stupid. I don't believe President Biden's Vice President. See, I'm already getting Vice President Biden or President-elect Biden stupid. Why do they want to mess things up so badly? That's what I do not understand. You see what you are proposing, you see happens in other countries. It fails every single time. Why do you want to bring it? Look at healthcare. The Affordable Care Act pretty much ruined healthcare, and people are too dumb to understand that the stuff that we used to do in health, like to go to the doctor, you can get a problem solved just like that. Now you got to jump through hoops, and people vote for this stuff.
Did you ever hear the term sell your soul to the devil? When people sell their soul to the devil, that they'll do anything for money, they'll sell their soul to the devil, they'll sell their soul to the devil for power, for name recognition, for money. That's what this is. Call it what it is, and I'm going to call it what it is. AOC was a girl who desperately wanted to be famous. She was a bartender. She wanted to be an actress. That was failing. She was cast. She was put in a casting role by a casting agent in the role of Congresswoman. And that's the role that she's playing now. And you know what? She's doing it pretty well. But she's a paid actress. That's what she is.
I mean, after that Amazon deal, I'm surprised New York didn't. And she did some crap like that. No.
It's what it is. And
that wouldn't fly down here.
And Nancy Pelosi sold her soul to the devil a long time ago. And Chuck Schumer sold his soul to the devil a long time ago. De Blasio sold his soul to the devil. Cuomo might be the devil. And, these people are not in touch with the American people. They don't represent the majority of America. The majority of America want freedom. We want to support our families. We want the things that you want sitting in your house right now, to take care of your kids, to make a living, to have the ability to speak up and have your voice heard. But they don't want that, because ultimately the Democrat Party is run by the globalist billionaire agenda that is not suiting the American people. It doesn't fit the actual ideals of what America was founded on. And for some portion of this, these people who are Congress people or senators or president-elects, they're merely shells. They're puppets. They're people that have sold their soul. So, I think they are stupid people, because I think if you're willing to sell your soul for a paycheck or sell your soul for fame, then you are a puppet and you are selling your soul to the devil. And that's what I see. That's what I see in a wide majority of the people that represent this party now.
And it's almost like celebrities.
Yeah.
Like, here's a little thing about me. I'm a big sports fan. I'm also a big professional wrestling fan. And I see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, come out and say, interviewing Biden and Kamala Harris. And I'm sitting there like, 20 years ago, you was at the Republican National Convention. And now you're a Democrat. And then I thought about it when I hear Jack Black talk about F. Trump and, Rob Reiner talking about he's the worst president in history. It's almost like they have to say this stuff to keep their career going. I really do have a feeling in my heart that I think they have to say this stuff. I would say it. Look, if I was making Dwayne Johnson money, I promise you I'll be saying F. Trump all the darn time.
Let's hope you wouldn't, though. I don't think you would.
What? I don't make billions of dollars? Yeah, let's hope that I don't.
But that's the problem I'm saying that that's the problem that we have, is that these people get to a certain point where they're willing to sell their souls. I would hope that you wouldn't do that. I would hope that you would be true to what you believe in, that you would want to stand up for your kids and your family and have your kids live in freedom. And unfortunately, these people that are willing to do this, that have lost touch with what actual reality is, look how much money this guy has. Like, it just doesn't matter to them anymore, because they're not your average American. They're not in touch with reality. They don't have to deal with what you have to deal with on a daily basis, or what I have to deal with on a daily basis. I'm doing okay, but I'm still in touch with reality. They're not. They're not. And they've given into this sinister globalist bullcrap agenda that's now feeding this monster that exists. And they are selling their souls to the devil. They're selling their souls to evil by backing a party that no longer is in line with American freedom and American values. And I think the Democrat Party at one time was. These are not Kennedy Democrats. This is not the Kennedy legacy. This is something entirely different. And this is sinister, and this is evil. And call me what you want. Call me extreme right wing. She's friends with Roger Stone. She's evil. She's this, she's that. The reality is that there's a lot of people speaking the truth right now. And it's the truth that the big tech billionaires don't want you to hear, because they don't want you to apply logic. They want you to put your mask on, go into your house, be afraid of COVID, and live in a bubble so they can take over and they can employ a socialist agenda, which will basically ruin our economy and lead to communism. And it's sick.
You can believe what you want to believe. And, this is not a political show by no means. And the reason why I want Karyn to come on the show is because we do share some. I've never been shy about my political views, but I do not make this into a political channel. But Karyn was somebody I do respect, and I really want to have her on the show. With that said, you got a lot of people right now. If you don't believe us, listen to Ben Shapiro, listen to Steven Crowder, listen to Mark Dice. And as one of my favorite guys right now, Mr. Reagan, will say, it's not that our liberal friends are stupid. They just know so much that isn't so. Now, with that said, oh, by the way, Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Mark Dice, Mr. Reagan, I do want a paycheck. With that said, and Karyn, you can send my money to PayPal. Anyway, with that said, let's get on this thing that happened to you in January.
Sure.
You got in a little bit of trouble. Explain to everybody exactly what happened. Because
Well,
you said it yourself, it is very important.
It is. It's really important. I took a plea deal, and I think it's important to understand that 96% of people that end up in the federal justice system, that end up charged with a federal crime, take a plea deal. It normally is the right thing to do. You're intimidated and cornered by the federal government and put into a situation where you know that it's going to cost you in excess of $500,000 to fight them. And really, no matter how I fighted them, no matter what I did. And I think an important part of this too is to bring up the fact that the federal prosecutor who came after me has now retired. So congratulations to her on her retirement. I was one of her last cases, if not her last case, which I also find incredibly ironic in this entire thing. But basically, I started to fight back against a neglected nursing home that was neglecting my mother. They weren't taking care of her. They were over medicating her. My mother had dementia. I was her power of attorney. I was doing what I thought was right to fight back against them. I started to make phone calls to the ombudsman. I started to make phone calls to state agencies. I did the things that as a child you do to protect your parent. And very quickly, things started to go downhill for me. I started hiring private aides to take care of my mom, although my mom was in a skilled care facility where they were supposed to provide all of her care. My mother was Medicaid pending at that point. The nursing home sat on their hands and made sure that the Medicaid applications that I filled out again and again didn't go through. They then hired a Democrat-connected, very litigious law firm that, as I mentioned earlier, had actually been the subject of a jury award for a $16.4 million judgment for putting a family in guardianship and doing them wrong. I didn't know this at the time. I was naive, as smart as I might be about politics, as much as I might read the headlines every day. When it came to guardianship, I really didn't know what was going on. And I thought to myself, thinking back to my childhood in the 70s and 80s and seeing guardian angels, come in and take back the city that was once known as Fear City, I saw the appointment of a guardian as being an advocate for my family. So I'm fighting against this nursing home. I'm in this battle. And the law firm says, we really want to appoint a guardian. We feel that Karyn Turk needs to have a guardian to help her make better decisions for her mom. And I embraced it. I said, okay, fine. Get me a professional guardian. That'll be great. I'll have an advocate for my family. But what I didn't realize is that this is such a twisted system. And this is not just a Florida problem. This is a national problem. Our guardianship system is very, very flawed. And there's 1 million people that are in guardianship in our country, and many of them shouldn't be. It's probably that 80-20 rule. And the fact is that these law firms are able to make money off of guardianships. I mean, how sick is this? So this guardian comes in. She's in bed with the nursing home. She's in bed with the law firm. She doesn't really act as an advocate for my mother. She becomes an extension of a lawsuit. The law firm then says that I owe the nursing home all of this money because Medicaid hasn't paid them and because I've been the POA for my mother's Social Security funds. So the Social Security funds that my mother was receiving, I was using to pay private aides. I was using for her care. I was using to support my mother because that's what I thought the money should be used for. However, the federal government said, guess what, Karyn Turk? Even if you fight this, we're going to charge you because the fact that you took your mother's Social Security money and put it into a checking account and used it for whatever, that's going to be charged as conversion. So my lawyer basically said to me, as I'm invited, and I'm ready in this whole civil legal battle, along with, at this point, My mother's dying horrifically in this nursing home. Meanwhile, none of the papers have talked about the fact that I'm suing the nursing home for unlawful death for murdering my mother. And most likely for the neglect that my mother suffered, I'll probably win that lawsuit. Not a single media outlet covered that. Not a single media outlet wanted to talk about the fact that my mother had been kidnapped, put in a guardianship, and then died with 9 decubitus bed sores on her body that were stage 4 that ate away to her bone. And then people say, why didn't you move your mother? Why didn't you get her out of there? You know why? Because my hands were tied behind my back by a guardianship system that was holding my mother hostage and took away my rights to help her, took away my children's rights to help her, and we had no recourse. The only person that could have saved her was the guardian. But guess what? The guardian cared more about the profits of the nursing home and the bill that was owed and the law firm than she did about my mother. This woman never even learned how to say my mother's name properly. So my mother dies, and basically I'm in a situation where I've now taken a plea deal for a $17,000 misdemeanor, because basically they were going to railroad me anyway. So I was either going to pay $500,000 trying to fight something where they were going to railroad me. Maybe I made the wrong decision. Maybe I shouldn't have taken the plea. Maybe I should have pled not guilty and I should have fought it and I should have taken every penny that I had. But I didn't, because I had no criminal record. And I felt that a $17,000 misdemeanor would probably result in some probationary time. But because of who I was, and because I was a conservative commentator, and because I was a supporter of President Trump, they threw the book at me. And they put me 30 days in a maximum security federal prison for a $17,000 misdemeanor. Wrap your head around that one. Wrap around your head about the fact that nobody has talked about what happened to my mother. How disgusting is that? How disgusting is it that my mother, a woman with advanced Alzheimer's, who is being murdered by a legal system, how sick is it that not one media outlet has talked about what happened to my mom? Not a single one.
I relate. The medical field nurse, I'll get into my situation in a minute. I do have one question to ask you. It's a tough question. And if you don't want to answer it, I totally understand. If you could have got your mom out of that nursing home, do you think she would have had a couple more months, maybe a year or so left?
100%. I feel like my mom would be with me now. I think my mother was over medicated by this nursing home. You know, that will be, we'll go to court. We'll figure out what happened. We'll figure out exactly what my mother, how many years she had to live. I mean, a jury's going to have to figure that out. I mean, we are going to go to jury trial unless this thing settles out of court, and it remains to be seen what's going to happen. But I can tell you this, no matter what, I will make sure that my mother's legacy lives on. My mother was a civil rights activist. My mother was a Kennedy Democrat, and I respected my mother more than anything in this world. And I did everything I could to protect her, and I was strung up for it. And I want to fight back for every single family that's wronged in guardianship. And I can promise you, no matter what happens with this unlawful death suit, I'm going to start some sort of nonprofit organization. I'm going to give back to other organizations to make sure that other families are protected from what happened to my mother. And that's going to be how her legacy lives on. But it's sick what happened. It's absolutely disgusting.
Well, I'll leave you with this. And the reason why your story touched me a little bit, and I'm not holding back tears by no means. I guess it's the Latino side of me. It's like, no, I'm not gonna cry. But here's what happened to me, my mother. So she gets out of ICU and she goes to another hospital. I can't, because I don't want to get sued or anything. But
right.
They go across the street.
Mm-hmm.
And basically that she's there just, to get better. Now, prior to that, I was in New York City. If I'm getting the term right, my wife, if she was here, she can tell you better, but I think her carbon dioxide was going up, way up. And when I got back from New York, it was like her carbon dioxide, I don't know if it's carbon dioxide, it was something that was going up. And it shouldn't be that up. It turns into poison. Well, she gets better. She gets ICU. She goes to rehab. Then she goes back to ICU. Then they send her across the street. Now, this hospital has a history in this town that I'm from. And I knew that I needed to stay there every night. So I stayed there every night. I did not want anything to happen to my mother. And sure enough, one morning, I hear this beep, 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 beep sound. And I wake up, and my mom's not looking too good. So I call the nurse, and the nurse is a traveling nurse. And I'm like, look, I think her carbon dioxide is going up again. I've seen this before. Something's wrong. No, we got two of them monitored. The one that works is right here, and she's fine. But the one that doesn't work says it's going up. No, she's okay. She's just got to keep her mask on. I said, look, ma'am, I've seen this. It got to the point where it's basically they were going to ask me to leave. Okay, so I called my wife, who's in the medical field, and I said, Kim, look, I need you to come down here. It was a Sunday morning. She was about to go to church. We actually had a fight about me staying at the hospital for a whole month because I was in every hospital. I slept on metal benches for a whole month because I didn't want to leave my mom's side. I canceled all my cases. I didn't work as a private investigator. I just had that luxury. So yeah, I called her. I didn't. If I would have said, Kim, get your butt down here, I know she would have, but I didn't push it. I gave in a little bit. I said, these people are medical. 7 o'clock comes in. First shift comes in. They come in. They say, hey, Miss Carolyn, how you doing? They check her. She's unconscious. They check her. You see on the woman's face, she's like, we got to get her out of here now. They call the ambulance. 20 minutes later, the ambulance gets there. I shit you not. They send her across to the other hospital. Carbon dioxide is like 148 or something like that. Something poison. I mean, I'm talking about poison. And I was so mad. I lost it. I lost it to the point where I can still control myself, but inside I wanted to hit somebody so hard. And 3 days later, she passes away. So I was there to fight for my mom.
Right.
But just
but you trusted the system. I trusted the system.
I trusted the system.
I trusted the system.
To this day, I mean, you're a better person now. To this day, people tell me I shouldn't feel guilty. I shouldn't, it's her time to go. And I will say this: the type of health she was in, she probably wouldn't still be here today. However, I believe in my heart that if I would have stepped up as a man and been there to protect my mom like I was supposed to do, that wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't be burying my mom the following week.
Yeah.
She died on that happened on a Sunday morning. She died at Wednesday morning. She was buried the following Monday. So yeah, I really do, feel for your story because something similar happened to me. And CTS, that's her legacy right there. It stands for Karyns Shop because we opened up a business in her name. So yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from, and I feel for you. I really do. And my thoughts and prayers are with you and your family. And I hope that you. I believe that you got 4 kids. Am I correct?
Thank you. Yeah, I do. I have 4 kids and actually 2 stepkids and a grandbaby. So I have a pretty big family.
Oh, I got you.
Very lucky.
Well, no, you got me beat. No, you got me
beat.
Yeah, because I got a stepkid, adopted daughter, who was my stepdaughter.
Okay.
So that's my adopted daughter. Then my 3 kids and my grandchild. So 6.
I got you beat. I got 7 because I got my 2 stepkids, I got my 4 kids, and I got my grandbaby. So I got you beat by 1.
Well, I know what me and my wife gonna do tonight. It's a competition.
There you go.
All right.
That's great.
Karyn, listen. I've had a lot of entertaining guests or fascinating guests, and I got to tell you what, Karyn, I can't believe you on my show.
Thank you.
I'm humble. I really do appreciate you coming in. I hope I get to see you again. I hope I get to meet you. Maybe one day I go to Florida, I get to meet you and your husband, and y'all can kick me out of your house. With that said,
I would love that. That's great.
With that said, everybody who's watching, I appreciate you tuning in. Karyn, stay on the line. Everybody else, see you next Sunday.